I'm going through realize, that kids, they struggle at first, but then they adjust. They're very resilient. They're very understanding. And at the end of the day, when they grow up, they'll know that I wasn't a perfect person, but they'll know that I love them, and that's all that matters to me. And that's all I care about.
We're talking with Tiki Barber. All right, you're going to try and make a comeback now. I'll ask you this first, Mark, before I ask Tiki about the football. How many teams can you give me a number of how many teams have expressed serious interest in Tiki?
Yeah, I can. No problem. Mike, as far as serious interest?
Serious.
I would say 2, but I can tell you that we feel we know where we're going. And that team that we feel we know we're going to, I've had conversations accordingly. I'm not going to get into it. Obviously, the Giants, when we sent the letter, I sent the letter to Jerry Reese and to the commissioner's office asking the Giants to take Tiki off their reserve retired list and release him immediately. That was so there would be no issues with any tampering. Not that, Mike, and you can appreciate this, when the Daily News puts on the cover, Tiki, quote, "I'm coming back," and Giants, "We don't want you." No one on this end thought we were going back to play for the Giants. That being said, we had to go through some exercises to make sure there was no issues for tampering, because the Giants did retain Tiki's rights for 2 years on his contract from a few years ago. That being said, we feel we know where we're going. We've had conversations. Tiki, in his head, has a handful of coaches that he feels would be the right fit, the right systems. But, if you're asking me point blank, I think there's a couple of teams. There are a couple of teams that have shown serious interest, but we feel we know where we're going.
And, Mark, you can explain this part to me. Because he's out of the league, is he allowed to be talked to right now where another player would not be able to be talked to?
Mike, it's a gray area. It's a very good question. And the answer is, when the lockout did break there for that 24-hour period about a month and a half ago, right around the draft, I did have some brief conversation where it was technically okay to do so. Prior to, there was conversation before the lockout started towards the back in February, March. Right now, we're on ice. We cannot do anything. And in a crazy way, the lockout has worked out to Tiki's benefit, being with Carini on a daily basis, one-on-one training. But yes, we want this lockout to end, just like the fans and the coaches and the players and everybody else and the owners want. So we're not talking to anybody right now. There's been no contact.
Okay, Tiki. And let me get this, as I get to the football stuff, let me double back, because I don't know who said that when Almond said, someone said entitled. I don't know who exactly said that. But let me say this. I know that's nonsense, because you came to Fan and worked overnight when you were still playing. You have always poured yourself into your work. The idea that you didn't work hard, I think that you were placed too high in the business. You were placed in the NFL before you played college, okay?
Yeah,
that was my point to you all along, is that you didn't learn the steps to get there. But you were, and we don't have to go back and retrace that, but my point is you were always a very hard worker. You will be a very hard worker now. I think everyone knows that. The question is, can you work yourself back to a level anywhere near where you were at this age, or is that impossible?
As a football player,
As a football player.
Here's the thing, Mike, and it's honestly, I believe that I can. I feel physically strong. I mean, working out with Joe for the last 3.5 months now, I'm stronger than I've ever been. My mentality is right, and obviously in the game of football, half of it is up in your head. If you believe you can do something, you can. I know that sounds like hokey, cliche stuff, but it really does. There's a lot of guys that have doubt, and they ultimately ended up being unsuccessful because of that doubt. So I have the confidence. The question will be, am I in the physical shape to be able to, run for, 50 yards and then come back and do it again, 2 plays later? That muscle fatigue that comes from actually playing the game, I can't know until I actually get on the field and start playing the game. But do I feel great right now? I absolutely do. Do I feel motivated and driven? I absolutely do. And do I believe I'm going to be successful? Yes. What role I'm going to be in? I don't know. I don't even know what team I'm going to be on. But I know one thing. Wherever I go, I'm going to make the guys there better because I'm not going to settle for mediocrity. I never have, and I never will.
And you think you can be a regular every down back still, or do you think you need to now be a situational player?
It depends on what the circumstances present. If they need a guy to be the every down back, I'm going to bust my butt to be that guy. Do I have the youth that I used to where you can recover? No, I don't. But do I have the desire? Yes. If I have to fall into into a situational role, that's what I'll do. But we all know that the NFL has changed. It's not the NFL of 1999 and 2000 where you had one guy taking 35 carries a game and never leaving the field. Now it's, you need one guy takes 10 carries, another guy gets, 12 carries, other guy comes in to be your third down back and catch passes. So the way that the league has changed, it benefits me, and especially a guy, like me, who can learn an offense quickly and be a smart player on the field, not just one who benefits with the ball in my hand.
We're talking with Tiki Barber, also his agent Mark Lefselter on the line. Tiki, you've seen this now firsthand. I mean, it's a funny thing in our society. We root for guys to make it, and then when they make it, we root for them to fail. I mean, that's just the way the world is. And then, but we also root for people. Everyone roots for people once they get smacked down to come back. I think you'll see that too. What have you learned during this whole thing? What have you taken from this fall from grace?
Well, you know what the greatest thing I learned, Mike, is you find out who your friends are. Right? And even guys who you don't think that are going to step up and say, we're supporting you, I'm behind you, I know you've been through some bad things. Those type of little encouragements go a long way. Some people will run away and never talk to you again, and a lot of people in my life who were very close to me did that. But guys, quite honestly, Mike, like you came up to me and you said, Tiki, everybody goes through these things. You figure it out and your life goes forward. You'll be okay. Those type of things, from someone who I've had combative conversations with over the years, it means something to me. It's why I respect you as a journalist and a broadcaster, because you say it like it is, right? Whether you believe it or not, you say it like it is. And so I've learned that there's certain people who know me and push for me regardless of the negativity that surrounds me, and that's gone a long way.
How bad did this get? I mean, did it really get to the point where you had trouble getting out of bed? I mean, was it really bad at one point?
Well, you know what it is, Mike? I've always had a plan, right? So when I was playing, I was getting good as a football player, and I had this other path that I was walking on in the media world, doing stuff that most players would never do in their off seasons. And so I had this great plan, right? So I walk away from the game, and I jump onto this other path that seems to be going well. And then all of a sudden, it ends, and I don't have a plan. So for the first time in my adult, let's say, professional life, there's no path for me to walk. Right, and so it's not like I'm, feeling horrible. It's just that I feel lost, and then I go through this personal situation that's not fun for anybody. And I think anybody who's gone through it can tell you it's not fun. It's not easy. And so all these things start compounding on top of each other all at one time. My grandmother passes away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you start to ask the question, why me? And you don't want to do anything. And when that happens, the people who need you and rely upon you, they start to question your worth and your being. Sports got me out of it. Yahoo was very loyal. I've been doing stuff for them for a long time. Right after the explicative hit the fan in April, they had me cover the draft, got me right back into working, and got me back into sports. And that type of thing I will never forget, because it pulled me out of what was a very bad place for me.
Well, I saw you sitting there next to me during the Super Bowl, and I walked over and said to you, you know what, you should still be playing. So, I mean, that's what I said every time I saw you.
That's not an uncommon utterance, Mike.
Yeah, and you did. I mean, that's true. Well, you did leave too soon, but now coming back is tough. What's the one thing in closing that you have had people say about you or has been written about you that really gnaws at you, that you just can't get rid of? What's the perception, the public perception, that really bothers you?
There's really only one thing that's ever bothered me, because I spent hours, countless hours, connecting with people, spending, an hour and a half after practice at training camp, or going into a school and spending hours signing autographs, or I went to a baseball game 2 days ago with my kids. The Rockland Boulders just opened this new stadium, getting inundated by fans. I've never said no to anyone. So this perception that I'm some kind of bad person because I went through a